Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. Today's topic is Rise Above the Chaos, and I really love this title. We've got a really good friend of mine who we've just become really good friends here probably in the last, 5 months or 4 months, but we have Curtis Marsh here with us today. So Curtis, thank you.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you. Yeah. We met, about was it a year ago or so?
Maybe a year and a half ago at Dan's, yeah.
Yeah, closer over the last 5 months, and I'm grateful for that. So
yeah.
It's been a blessing in my life.
Yeah, and you have in mine as well, because when we had a chance to sit down and have dinner, you and your girlfriend sat down, next to Janan and I, and
perfect.
We started talking and sharing some things, and we found out that we got a lot in common.
Perfect placement in that table right there.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and there are no coincidences. It happened for a reason.
Absolutely.
Right? When you walked in, I'm like, I know that freaking dude. And then I saw your boots. I'm like, yeah, I really know this guy. And of course, I threw you off. I had my flip-flops on, but not today.
I remembered your boots from the first time we met. I said, I got to meet this cowboy. We're gonna have a good time together. So
I love it. And we are blessed again to have Mel in the studio with us today as our guest co-host. So thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here. My Therapy Thursday.
Right? For both of us, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's great to meet you.
I want to get to where I can have therapy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
So we all need it, don't we? We all need it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Curtis, I know when you and I spoke on the phone, you didn't want to really go into bringing your past up too much, right? Because that's done and that's over with. And I know we'll touch base on it just a little bit. And the Rise Above the Chaos, I think, is really kick-ass, because when people start hearing your story, where you were at one time in your life, I mean, the money that you were making as a 23-year-old kid was just, I couldn't even imagine making that type of money. And as I was listening to your TED Talks that you did, I started thinking, I'm like, if I was in Curtis's position, I probably would have done the same damn thing. I probably would have walked in those same shoes. Just because it's, I don't know, sometimes I feel like the devil just kind of hangs that carrot out there, and tempts you and tempts you and tempts you, and you finally bite, and then before you realize it, you're chin deep in the shit, basically, right? And you're going, how do I get out of it?
And there's nothing wrong with money. I think that it provides and does a lot of good for a lot of people. But in my case, it was, the absence of my higher power. I at 23 and I was making that kind of money, I basically put my higher power on the bench and said, hey, I got this. This is all about me. And so when you have a life that's driven by ego and lack of acknowledgement of where your true blessings come from, that's when you start to lose. So money, they say it's the root of all evil, but it's what you do with that and who you're being with, that type of blessing in your life. So I became very arrogant, very cocky because of that paycheck and because of the money. And it's very easy to get lost up in it. And that world of Wall Street that I was in, it was very easy to lose sight of your why. And I had a completely different why when I went into the business, and my why had shifted and took me out of alignment. So it's hard. It's hard. It's a tough one.
Oh yeah, and I like that you said, you brought up that thing, because I've been to like other classes and stuff, and a few people have brought it up where money is the root of all evil. And somebody out in the audience at one of the things raised their hand, and the guy that was teaching the class said, "Yeah, you got a question?" He goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "I really don't believe that's so." He says, "Because there are a lot of people that make a ton of money that use it for good."
Yeah. Oh,
so it's the individual. It's not the money itself. It's the individual. And you nailed it too when you said ego.
I like the way that you put
ego gets the best of all of us. And my wife and I, we were talking about that a couple weeks ago, and it's really crazy. So we were on 2200 West and about 70th South, and I was telling my wife we were going to the credit union. I says, remind me on the way back to stop here at Bateman's because gas was, I think it was like 409. And she goes, no, it isn't. It's 420. I said, no, it's not. It's 409. I'm like, see the sign?
Yeah.
And she goes, no, you see the sign? Same gas station. One said the 420, the other one said 409. And I started laughing. And I said, we were both right. And I says, but our egos were taking over to prove one of us was wrong.
Absolutely.
And how it takes over so freaking quick.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing how fast that happens. And in my years of work in manufacturing and even construction, I saw that come into effect a lot to where someone got promoted and they were a totally different person than what they were before.
Yeah. It's definitely something you got to keep in check, and you know, I in my case, I don't believe it was necessarily the money, but it was who I became.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and ego driven. You know, this is all about me. My TED Talk, I talk about how I, you know,
kiss your biceps.
Kiss my biceps and said, hey, God, I've got this. You know, this is all about Curtis Marsh and who I am and how great I am. And that ego took over. And you had that little whispering over here saying, hey, man, you're killing it out there. You're 23 years old. You just made $80,000. You know, you don't need anybody else except for you. And this is all because of you. And that's the whisperings that are false. You know, and I'll talk about how I overcame a lot of my chaos that I created in my own life by the choices that I made, because you have to have that higher power. I'm just a big believer in that you can't overcome chaos or addiction without some type of connection to a higher power.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you on that one, Curtis. And all the AA meetings that I went to with my wife to support her, now being, basically I have put myself in the addiction world, right where my wife's been at. I've put myself in her world. And the blessing and the privilege of meeting the people that I've met has just been so amazing. And every single one of them said, when I gave my life up and handed it over to a higher power, some say it's God for me, others say it's the universe for me. We've heard people say it was a rock or nature or a mountain or
I'm
my
definitely
wife.
On the other end of that. I'm nature and the universe, and but I mean, I associate just the same way you do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Something greater and bigger than you and your addiction, and you know, it dispels our egotistical manner and ways. So it's that some connection to know that there's something greater than you.
Yeah.
Because you is ego.
Yeah. Amen
Definitely.
to that. So I know we didn't want to touch a lot into it, but just so the audience knows a little bit more, you were in the financial, stock market, all that stuff. I mean, you moved yourself up making a ton of money and started getting into the drinking and the drugs, correct?
Yeah, and I'll even, if I can give you a little preface to that as well.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit before the show, but I was brought up in a great family. You know, I grew up in a cul-de-sac, and we had great families. We did things together. You know, my mom was always fixing breakfast for it. Things that, you know, kids take for granted these days. You know, my mom was there. I joke about, you know, I knew when breakfast was ready because the smoke alarm would go off. But, you know, family breakfast, family dinners. I mean, these things are, we don't do them as much anymore as families. But I had that type of a upbringing. I want to make that clear because I have some great parents. I had a great upbringing. And, you know, family prayer and activities and things of that nature. Now, I was the first born, and I was the oldest of 4 kids.
Yeah.
And so there was a little bit of pressure on me to be perfect. I don't think those words were ever used, but as I look back, I felt like I couldn't make any mistakes, and I was always looking for that. Hey, Dad, did I do everything okay? Or Mom,
getting that approval, huh?
My brothers and sisters okay with that? Am I setting a good example? And as I look back, that was a lot of weight, And then you couple that with the upbringing of the LDS Church, which I'm a member of, and again, nothing derogatory about the church or my family, but that was a lot of pressure as a kid, and I didn't realize until I kind of looked back, and not looking to blame, but just looking at those patterns and those pains that caused me to make some of the choices that I did. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that addiction, chaos, choices, it doesn't matter what your upbringing Amen. Is. It can happen to anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Even the strongest man can fall, and that's something my dad used to always tell me, and I living proof of that. Later on in my life. So, as I went through my life and served a LDS mission back in New England, came home and I was working with my father in a business. He was in the insurance business, and we also did some educational seminars, and I was enjoying that experience. And there was one day where I went to my father and I said, "Hey, I need to make a little bit more money. I'm married now, and I need to make a little bit more money." And the conversation was a little bit longer than we have time for, but at the end of the conversation, he felt like he didn't need to give me any more money for my efforts. And again, this isn't putting my dad down.
Right.
I want to make that clear. And he said to me, "Good luck finding something else. You'll never amount to anything without me." And he didn't mean that in a
like a shot below the belt.
Yeah, I think he was doing. I don't know. It's one of those pivotal moments where I said, "You watch me," and this is where I thought, I'm going to go out and I'm going to prove him wrong. And so I went and I interviewed with Shearson Lehman Brothers, which at the time they were the 900-pound gorilla on Wall Street. They were the biggest firm out there. I was 23 years old, and I went in and I interviewed, and out of 270 applicants, they accepted 5 of us. And I was the youngest, and I say this just as a reference point, with all humility. I was the youngest. I wasn't humble then, but as you look back, things change. I was the youngest stockbroker ever hired by Shearson Lehman Brothers at the age of 23.
Wow.
And I started to make that shift. I just described who I was, my family, my upbringing. I was aligned with a why that had certain blessings attached to it. And I started to slowly shift my alignment. And it happens just very subtly. You guys are shaking your head because you know. Yep. Life shifts for us when we get out of alignment with our why. Why do we do what we do? Why are we making the choices that we make? And so that 80,000, and it wasn't necessarily the money. That was a lot of money back in 1986 for a 23-year-old. It was who I became. And it's who we are being with that money or with that mantle that we are given in life, how we are reacting to those choices. And then again, Mel and Al, it was a series of small little choices, and next thing you know, I'm making a lot more money than that as my career went on, and I continued to cover bad choice with another emotional reactionary choice. When chaos comes into our life, we have a choice to make.
Right.
And chaos comes in naturally because life is life. And chaos, it's an interesting. When I say chaos, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I use the word chaos?
Drama comes in mind for me. Just all kinds of outside nastiness coming at you in every direction.
I'm thinking a toddler with no remorse.
So see, every time I ask that question, people say, "Well, it's a real negative. It's a real negative thing. It's a negative event." And but chaos comes into our life one of two ways. Number one, life is life; it happens.
Yes.
Number two, it's a direct result of our choices that we make that aren't in alignment with those choices that give us irrevocable blessings. It's the choices that have irrevocable consequences sometimes. And we think, well, I can make this choice and it won't affect me negatively. It does, eventually. Okay? So chaos, and I was actually given that nickname later in the biker world. We'll maybe get into that a little bit more, but chaos is a disruptor. It's there to disrupt and change. I started to study the word and the meaning, and in Chinese and Native American, chaos means from chaos comes brilliant new dreams. You have to experience chaos in order to give birth to a dancing rising star.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we have a choice when we make a choice in our lives that creates chaos because it has attached to it a negative experience. We have to right that choice, okay? And what do we do as addicts and human beings who are ego-driven? We make a next reactionary or emotional-based choice. Yes. So if I go back into my past, I look at the choices that I made, and some seemed very simple. I got into the drinking part of it because I was covering pain with something else. That was a reactionary, emotional-based choice. Now, I had another option. I could have made the next right choice, which is let's correct that. Let's know that it's not in alignment with my why. And how do I correct that? So when chaos comes into our life because of our choices, we need to do the next right thing. And I'll give an antidote to how I personally pressure tested life and how it worked for me to reverse and get out of the chaos that I'd created in my life. It's kind of a long-winded answer, Al, but hopefully that...
No, that was really good. And I mean, a lot of the people that we've had on the show that have talked about their addiction, they did the exact same thing. It's that emotional reaction where this is what happened. And I've said many times too, and I know Mel has heard this, where I jumped off the hamster wheel many times with my wife just to turn around and jump right back on. It's I jumped off on the right side, ran around to the left side, and got right back on so I could, do the thing. And it was that emotional type reaction. A lot of the stuff that I said that was mean and ignorant and pissy and, and again, but my life was in chaos at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, when you live with someone that's an addict and you make the decision you're going to come home from an event and get your pistol and go up in the mountains and take your life because you can't deal with it anymore. I mean, yeah, that's just, life was just going frickin' nutso for me. And I would say every single choice that I made was off that emotional feeling.
Yeah, reactionary, emotional-based choice.
Yeah.
And we decide how long chaos stays in our life. I mean,
absolutely.
Chaos can walk through that door right there into our lives and sit down, and we decide how long we entertain it. We decide how long we feed it. We decide how long we allow that chaos to be there. It's there to disrupt us.
Mm-hmm. That gave me goosebumps.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is.
It's there to disrupt us.
Yep.
It just gave me goosebumps. And to cause change.
Yeah.
And we decide how long we let it stay. And by the choices that we make and the commitment to those choices, we can excuse that chaos from our lives. Or we can make it a reactionary, emotional-based choice. And guess what? You keep feeding that stupid-ass decision and those choices to keep chaos in your life.
And that chaos grows bigger.
Oh, yeah.
It does.
It gets bigger.
And farther away from the alignment that if you don't have a why, and if you're not aligned with certain things, recovery is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, thanks, Mel. I get a little emotional on some of these topics.
That's all right.
I'm glad you felt that.
That's why I've got my tissues ready.
Yeah. She shares the story of the first time she was a guest co-host coming on here, and I don't remember who our guest was, but when we were done, we stood up and Mel had tissues on the seat. She had tissues on the floor.
This side, on the floor over here, on the floor over here.
Yeah. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Tears are, I say that's a release valve.
Yeah.
Emotions of the heart.
That's what I agree. It's a release. I feel like our bodies naturally need that.
Yeah.
And
the emotions of the heart. Whether it's you felt something, and to me that's truth, and or sadness or pain or guilt or shame, and that. So tears. I always say, a real man cry. And I'm not afraid to show that emotion because that is my true, heartfelt, emotions. And if you keep that bottled up,
you're going to blow.
You keep, and it's going to blow, or you're going to keep feeding that pain because, we all become addicts because of pain. My pain was I broke. In my eyes, in my heart, my dad's heart.
Yeah,
I didn't, I don't think, but I felt that way, and I wasn't perfect, and I had let my brothers down, and that blame, shame, and guilt, and it became this big, huge sliver in your heart, and until you get that out and realign with your why, again, you're stuck in that chaos and that addiction of your life.
Yeah.
I like that you keep explaining it as the why, because that's one thing that I've really learned about in the past few years with just my business networking and things like that. Everybody asks me what my why is, and 3 years ago I was like,
read the book. There's a book called What's Your Why?
Let me write that down.
It's a really good one. Yeah. And it's funny that you said what you just said, Curtis, because I just did a post on my Facebook page. So I get up every morning and post like 3 or 4 positive affirmations or different sayings.
Yeah, they're great.
And the one said this morning, if you don't heal what cut you, you'll bleed on, if you don't heal what hurt you, you'll bleed on the people who didn't cut you. And that is so freaking true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true about everything in our life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I carry around this backpack full of choices. I don't call them stupid choices because I'm here today because of that backpack.
Exactly right.
Choices that I've made. Whatever label you want to put on, society wants to put on, but I'm going to put on there that, I used to say those were the worst choices, and I would beat myself up and that shame and that guilt. But that backpack, that imaginary backpack that I have, is full of choices that I made in my life, and I'm here today, and grateful for who I've become. And if it wasn't for those choices, and notice I'm not labeling them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're important to who I am now today. But that why, it is so powerful. Because without it, it's like a compass. I mean, what's your why, Mel? I mean, I know what your why is. I mean, just talking to you earlier, it's your kids. Okay?
Definitely.
It's your family. It's your sobriety, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Take another 24. You're gonna make it. You're gonna rise above, and I guarantee it. I feel it. So, you have to have that.
Yeah.
Damn it, I know it.
Yeah. And it's funny that the why came up for years when I lost my job in 2009. Talking about chaos and who you think you are and things like that.
That's chaos right there.
I worked my way up as the lowest paid mechanic there in the place and worked my way up into management, and I was making a lot of money as well. And when I lost my job, there was people that I worked with that, got with me a little bit, and I had a few people tell me they didn't trust me, and these were friends. And I've shared this a couple times, and I'm like, what do you mean you didn't trust me? I never stole from you. I always treated your home and your family with respect and, different things. And they're like, it's just who you are and what you say. It's like we never really could believe what came out of your mouth. And that freaking hurt.
Oh, yeah.
That hurt like hell. And I was in a place in my life at that time, with all the responsibility that I had, and I don't know if you and I talked about this when we were at dinner, you know, I worked my ass off. I loved my job up until about the last 6 months that I was there. My days consisted of working 13, 14-hour shifts, Monday through Thursday. Friday was 8 hours only. Call my dealer up, go get a gram of cocaine, run to the liquor store, or go to the store and grab some beer. Friday and Saturday, man, it was release. Whew. I'm gonna band-aid all this shit. You know, I'm gonna chill. I'm just gonna party. I'm gonna enjoy life. Sunday, get my shit back together. I did that year after year after year. And
that emotion, reactionary based.
Oh yeah,
decision, yeah.
And we would have people come over to our house, sometimes family members and friends, and I had my garage set up, the man cave. I had my workbench and the stereo and the speakers and the TV and refrigerator full of booze and all that stuff. And there was a couple times, and my wife didn't know I was doing the white stuff. She had no clue. She knew I was drinking, of course, because it's right there in front of her.
I knew we had a lot in common.
Yeah,
I covered it up too. I did a lot of my stuff on the road.
Yeah.
And then I'd go home and you know.
Yeah, they have no idea. And I remember...
They probably do. We think
so many times. Many times I looked in the mirror and I asked God to help me.
Oh, man.
It's like, please help me, because I know if I continue down this road, it's not going to go very well. And I was at 198 pounds, and I had always prided myself on really taking care of myself. You know, I've been in bodybuilding stuff and weights and gym since I was in high school, and continue to do all through that stuff until I got to that point and got transferred back from Kentucky here to Salt Lake. Responsibilities got bigger, hours got longer, and I was happy to do it. I wasn't bitching about it because I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I remember we had some friends over once, and man, I was feeling really wasted. I wasn't feeling. I was wasted.
You were, yeah.
And I had to get up and go to the restroom, so I go into our master bathroom, and of course I stand above the toilet, and next thing I know, man, boom! I'm in the tub, shower curtain down and everything, and my wife and her friends comes running in, and I'm in the tub still holding, trying to pee, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? And I realized, man, something's got to change.
Yeah.
God made that change for me. I lost my job. I had to do a UA, never been UA'd for umpteen years. Failed it. If the owner still would have owned the company, he probably would have suspended me for a while, because I was a dedicated employee, but he sold the company, and these people come in and they're corporate. Oh, we're not going to pay you $36 an hour anymore. We'll just get rid of you, And during that time of 2009, all the way probably up until a couple of years ago, a lot of people asked me what my why was. I got involved with the West Jordan Chamber of Commerce, which was such a blessing. I got to meet so many incredible people. That's where you and I met. Yeah,
that's cool.
And a lot of people ask me what the why is.
The opposite of addiction is association.
Yeah.
Connection.
I didn't know what my why was, Curtis. I had no clue.
Many people don't, They wander through life, and that's part of their pain.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know what direction I was going, and I was doing all kinds of different things. I chose not to work for a corporation ever again. I'm like, screw this. I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. No one's going to decide it for me, and I help people start up some businesses and different things like that. And where we talk about you carrying around that backpack full of rocks. I had my backpack full of rocks.
Hot rocks, Al.
Hot rocks, yeah. Not Hot Wheels, but Hot Rocks.
Hot rocks.
Yeah. And those rocks lead you to exactly where you're supposed to be. And you mentioned that right around the first of the show. And my wife's addiction, I was meant to go through all that stuff, every single bit of it, because through that, I found my why.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing any of this that I'm doing right now if it wasn't for her addiction, and I had to figure out what my why is. And for those of you that are listening, if you don't know what your why is, man, I don't know. I would say my advice is you just give your life over and give it over to a higher power, however you want to look at your higher power, and just say, take me. And I had to do that. I literally had to do that, and just ask God, what am I supposed to be doing? You know, because when we try to control our own lives,
Doesn't work too well, does it?
yeah, we're not good at it.
We can control the reaction to the choices.
Yeah.
We can control
Yeah.
the reaction to the chaos. We can control that kind of stuff. But if we do turn it over, and God was whispering to you to quit, but you didn't pay attention. He had to actually knock you in the shower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Knock me upside the head like my dad used to do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the guys say that they didn't trust you, and you didn't quite understand what that was. We as addicts think that people can't see.
Yeah.
They can't really see us, but they see it.
Yeah.
They see it.
Yeah. And to see even like knowing more about your story and where you're at today and what you're doing, and so many of our other guests. I mean, we had Clay on here from the Other Side Academy a couple of weeks ago. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
his show just came
I
out
know,
today.
I saw that, yeah.
And, his new drug is helping people. That's his new drug.
Yeah, you can get addicted to. You can get addicted to greatness.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
yeah.
that's also part of the antidote that I'll talk about later. Is how I rose above. Is getting addicted to giving
Yeah.
of yourself to other people, serving, and so.
All right. So to get back on track, I kind of blabbled there for a while. Is that how you say blabbled?
That's the great thing about these podcast experiences is that there's no set
Yeah.
agenda, and you go from the heart. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing those things with
Oh,
me.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And,
yeah.
I can relate to so much. When we first met, it was at Dan Rawls' place
Mm-hmm.
at night for a meeting, and there was I just felt a connection to you, and it's funny, after all these years, here we are sitting here. Well, it's been probably a couple of years.
Yeah, just a couple of years. Yeah.
We're sitting here doing a podcast together and sharing some heartfelt tears and
I know, right?
everything else. It's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and again, this is what I love so much about coming in here every Thursday and doing these shows. You
guys do a great job.
it's just amazing, and I don't know how many times I've even sat here and cried on the show. Because again, those feelings, and we've talked about it when we were going to that group.
Yeah.
That all of us really. That I don't know. I think maybe there was half a dozen or a dozen or so people there at that group that night, and we were all broke off in these little groups, and a lot of us were talking how all of us was pretty much raised. You're a man. You're tough, man. You don't frickin' cry, and you hold this shit in, and society has groomed us to be that way. And
You got to be tough. Yeah.
and I disagree.
I do too.
I disagree.
do too.
Our feelings are there for a reason. God gave us these feelings for a reason, and it's okay that we let those feelings out. It's okay if we're angry. It's okay if we're sad. It's okay if we cry. The trick is just don't keep yourself there.
It's
Yeah,
society
so-
we're evolving. Your parents, I'm sure, taught you it's not okay for boys to cry. Boys are tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, times have changed and we're evolving to understand that
Yeah.
about both male and female.
Well,
I
that's-
definitely
yeah,
raised my
it-
son that way.
Did you good?
Yeah.
To cry or to
no,
not,
it's
or to
yeah,
show
it's
emotion?
okay to show
Yeah,
emotions.
It is, and I always, whenever someone says, "Hey, I'm an addict," or "I need your help," my first question is, "What's your pain?" And because it is a pain, and it's those feelings that they're holding in and not letting out. Because I can't tell anybody. I held mine in. I couldn't go home and tell my wife and my kids and my family that I was doing certain things because I was worried about the reaction that I would. Mm-hmm. So I was holding that in. When you hold that in, it becomes a greater pain, a bigger sliver, a 2x4 in your heart. And so if you can't show those emotions and get those emotions out, and then you keep covering it up. Mine started with, I told you earlier, it started with a cup of coffee, and then it was beer, and then it became vodka, cocaine, and all those things. Well, I've done this now, and I got to cover up the pain of this choice and this choice and this choice, so let me make another stupid reactionary decision, and cover that up again. And then hiding it all, oh my gosh. When I gave my TEDx talk, Rise Above the Chaos, that was the first time, and as I walked off that stage, and I said, if that didn't impact anybody's life, it impacted mine. It was the first time ever that I laid my vulnerability out there and fully surrendered to, hey, this was me. This is my backpack full of choices. Take a look inside. It's okay. I'm here today. I've pressure tested life. I've risen above it. And hopefully someone will learn from my experiences. But when I walked off there, it was the most freeing, and I know both of you have felt it. It was the most freeing thing that I had experienced in a long, long time, because I had no more pain. I had no more slivers in my heart. Yeah. Boom. Vulnerability, surrender, ego.
Yeah, out the window. Yeah. Now there was somewhere I was going to go with this, and now I don't remember what it was. That happens because I get so locked up in what our guests are saying.
I actually just recently told my mom that I was even doing coke, and this was 16 years ago. It's like, yeah, that was a conversation that actually just came up just probably weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how'd you feel about that?
Really good, actually. I mean...
So were you hiding it, obviously, from her because of her reaction to it?
I don't think I was necessarily hiding it. I guess you could call it that, because I had never talked to her about it. But yeah, it was just another one of those little slivers that I never have to worry about again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how it felt.
It's very freeing, and that's, until we as human beings become vulnerable enough to get all of those pains and those, I just call them slivers to the heart. It's like a sliver you get in your finger, and you get it out, and then a few days later you're going, man, it's still just kind of festering up in there, and it's starting to get red, more and more red, and you're saying, what the heck? And you put some, you clean it again, and then you put some Neosporin on, a Band-Aid, and you take the Band-Aid off, and it's like, son of a gun, still, there's something. And you work on that thing, and maybe you get a little needle and you peel back some of that skin. And guess what? There's a little tiny. You can hardly see it.
Yeah.
But that's the choice that you made that has now festered into a greater pain and creating chaos in your life. Yeah. And what is chaos again? Well, it's a disturbance. It's there to change you. It's a force to make sure that you understand that you can be better than where you are today. And you say, all right, chaos, thanks for coming into my life. What are you here to teach me? You have to figure that out. You look at your why, and then you decide how that's going to make you a better person. From chaos comes new beginnings.
Yeah. Well, look how many people that, I mean, there's even a lot of well-known people, whether they're actors or actresses or musicians or artists or poets or whatever, that went through a lot of chaos and bullshit in their life, and they ended up changing it. And so many times during this talk today, I'm picturing driving down the road, and you take your hands off the steering wheel and your alignment's out. Not real bad, but just enough to where slowly you're going, you're going, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then before you know it, you're down off in the media or the gutter or doing whatever. Now, if that was, if you look at our lives that way, and we don't basically take ourselves to the mechanic and get the alignment fixed, so we can go straight again. And I love that you shared what is chaos there for, and that's to take us off the path we're meant to go on. And yes, it's always going to be there, but again, don't get stuck there. I mean, make a correction.
It's I'll say one more thing on that. And that's a great analogy, and it's also sometimes why I don't like to talk too much about my past, because the rearview mirror is a real tiny instrument to guide us to look back and glance and say, hey, there's where I was, and to look back and make sure there's nothing there. Glance at it once in a while. But the windshield's a lot bigger than the rearview mirror. And the reason is because I'm in drive more than I am in reverse.
Yeah.
And I need that windshield to get there. But one thing to keep in mind about chaos, and I will share this with us and the audience. Is chaos will come into our life, and it's to do one thing: to create you. Too many times we let it crush us. Okay, yeah. It's not there to crush you. Chaos does not come into your life to crush you. You can allow it to, and we see people do that all the time. They give up. They say, "Hey, I got this chaos in my life. I don't know what to do." It's not there to crush you. God does not give you chaos in your life, or let you experience chaos in your life, I should say, to crush you.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. It's to create you.
Exactly.
So you crush or create, and it's a very simple way. You just now have to, like your analogy of the alignment, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. If you all of a sudden try to jerk your car back onto the road, what's going to happen? You're going to wreck that way too.
Yeah.
So it's a slight, it may have taken, I don't know, let's think back on our own addictions. How long did it take us to get to where we were in that forest going, how the hell did I get here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly right.
And too many times people say, well, I got to get back on that path. It's those same slight adjustments, those slight choices that will get you back into it. And those who want to just all of a sudden get back, it's not going to happen. Again, it's part of the process, part of the journey. It's called doing the work.
Exactly right. Yeah, because we have to put in some of that effort, right? I mean, God wants to help us, or your higher power, your universe, whatever it may be. He wants to help us, but we've got to put those the feet forward first, right?
I mean, we have the power to do it.
Yeah, exactly right.
Again,
it's becoming aware of it.
Yes,
and understanding what you've learned and how to use that as a tool to progress you into the next part of your life.
Yeah.
I've always been very aware of, maybe not in this situation, but after situations, I've always been very aware of, I know what I learned and took from that, and now I'm going to have a better foot forward.
There you go.
It's getting out of it is the hard part, but after the fact, now I can look back and understand.
Yeah. And it's slight, simple adjustments, and we'll get into that more when I talk about the antidote that I used to rise above.
Well, let's take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, let's hit on that, because I think that is a great way to finish out the second half of that.
Sounds great.
Guys, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Have you ever been in a car accident? Do you know what to do after being in a car accident? Are the insurance companies going to take care of you? Hi, I'm attorney Rick Heaton with the Law Office of Bobby Udall. I will help you through the process and answer all of these questions. I give every single client my cell phone so they can talk to me whenever they need. Let me deal with the insurance company so you can focus on getting better from your injuries. Call me at 385-330-0226. Again, my cell phone number, 385-330-0226. Don't call the insurance company first. Call attorney Rick Heaton at 385-330-0226.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Good morning, this is Leticia with Computer Hospital. We are your computer repair experts for both PC and Mac. We are your community resource for all of your computer repair needs. What makes us different is that we want to fix your computer. We also do free diagnostics. We charge a flat rate labor, which means that you won't pay by the hour. All of our computer repair is done in-house with a fast turnaround time, and same-day service is also available. Feel free to stop by anytime without an appointment. We're located in Sandy at 8721 South State Street. Again, that's 8721 South State Street. Or call us at 801-987-3993. Again, that's 801-987-3993. This is Leticia with Computer Hospital, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Hello there, this is Brad Neufeld with the Resilience Talk Network, and I would like to introduce to you Taffytown, one of our newest sponsors. Let me introduce you to Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek from Taffytown. We're proud sponsors of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Taffytown is a family-owned and operated business still operating in the Salt Lake City area for over 100 years. We manufacture some of America's best saltwater taffy.
What makes Taffytown stand out from all of the others?
We have a unique recipe, a whipped-style recipe that incorporates egg whites, evaporated milk, real sea salt. It's a unique product that is flavorful, melts in your mouth, and the best part is we probably have a flavor for anyone's liking, a flavor for any reason, for any season. We have unique flavors like chicken and waffles, maple bacon, frosted cupcake. New this year was a pineapple ghost pepper flavor.
That's awesome. Where can people find out more about Taffytown and all of its products?
You can check all of this stuff out. All of our products are available for sale on taffytown.com. We ship for free from our website, so all of our pricing on there is shipping included. Oftentimes we offer special promotions and discounts to our loyal customers, so do be sure to sign up for an account. And we look forward to seeing what we can do to make you smile with our taffy.
Where are you located?
We are currently located at 9813 South Prosperity Road in West Jordan, Utah, just at the foothills of the Copper Canyon Mine.
Derek, taffy has always been a great gift to give. What are some of the creative ways Taffytown can help say thank you to others?
Yeah, if you're looking for gift ideas, whether to say thank you to friends or family, or maybe to your clients after such a difficult or successful year that you've had, you could look no further than to get a gift idea from taffytown.com. We offer pre-packaged gift boxes that say that it's saltwater taffy from the city of the Great Salt Lake, and it tells a little bit about the history of our community and making candy for so long. You can also do customized gifts to pick out just the right flavors or colors of candy for that special someone and deliver even a personalized message in that box to them. So please feel free to check out taffytown.com for any gift ideas this season.
Thank you so much, Derek. Please visit taffytown.com, that's taffytown.com, to find out more about the products and services that Taffytown offers. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Other Side of Addiction. And again, we are here to talk about Rise Above the Chaos with our special guest, Curtis Marsh. Again, Curtis, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you guys.
Really appreciate it. And again, we are here with the lovely Mel. So Mel, thanks you for your time. Always a pleasure. Man, the first half of the show, I know I say this probably every single week, but just flipping incredible. I mean,
every week it really is.
Really. Yeah, it really is. It always hits me in the heart, hits me in the feelings. I mean, my eyes are watering up already.
Mine too. Stop it.
And it's, again, one of our missions here on the Other Side of Addiction is to get rid of the damn stigma of how people look at addicts.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to get up and talk in front of a Hang Frankenstein type crowd not too long ago at a protest, and I got up and was telling people, I'm like, these addicts that you're afraid that are coming in here at a sober living, that's someone's daughter. That's someone's son. It's someone's dad. It's someone's mom. You guys are looking at them like they're freaking monsters.
Right.
They're not monsters. They're someone who've been broken, and they're busting their ass to fix themselves, which I'll take that back. My wife does not like that word fix. They're doing everything they can to get their life back in alignment.
Realigned, yeah.
Yeah, realigned and give back to society because they created so much chaos, throughout their life. Dave DeRocher talks about that. And, when we did our talk at our summit, he talked about all the chaos he caused and all the harm he caused out there in the world and society. He goes, no wonder they wanted me in prison. I deserve
look at
to
Dave
be in
now,
prison. Now look at him. Yeah, the guy's just incredible, and it's been a huge honor to be on stage with that man, and work with him and get to know so many incredible people that have gone through the program out there. It's just awesome people. And it goes back to the topic, Rise Above the Chaos. I know a lot where you took that because I've watched your TED Talks, which, guys, when this show posts, we'll make sure that link for that TED Talks is on there so you guys can check this out. But yeah, move forward on that, Curtis.
Okay. We all have you met Michael Haas by the way? When you talked about Dave and the other side,
Mike Haas.
He runs Red Barn Academy.
I actually have.
I met him on a brief, just briefly. Somebody introduced me to him, and that was it. Yeah,
I have, just because I'm a big thrift shopper. I'd never heard about it before. I actually was in the area, and I was like, well, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
but I met him.
I'm speaking out there to their guys on the 25th of this month. So when you mentioned David, that tied that in because that's the connection. So we all have stories, and they're a collection of experiences, choices that we've all made.
Collection of rocks, all different sizes.
Yeah. And I do. I have this backpack, and on there it says Captain Chaos. My buddy made this for me, Captain Chaos, and then it says LH&R, and I live by the biker creed: love, honor, and respect. And when I first saw that, that's a biker creed, but I thought, why can't I love, honor, and respect? First of all, myself, which is the most important, because I can't love, honor, respect you or you if I don't might have it for myself. So I'll share with you what I call the antidote for rising above the chaos. Again, we talk about chaos coming into our life one of two ways. The choices that we make, or that life is life, and it's there not to crush us, but to create us. So my nickname is actually Chaos. It was given to me. We were up riding in West Yellowstone, and with Dee Snider and Vince Neil and Foghat and some of those guys. And a buddy of mine said to me, he said, "Man," he says, "you're just chaos." He says, you're just chaos. And I looked at him because, I asked you two what you thought of when you heard that word, and it's a very negative connotation. And I looked at him, I said, what do you mean by that? Because I kind of felt bad he was calling me something negative. And he says, you just create things and make, you can't explain this stuff. And it wasn't create negative things, because we can create chaos to rise above in business and things like that, create that disturbance, do things differently. But so chaos became my nickname, and I think I really played into that. I think I really leaned into that name a lot. I slapped that label on myself, and I'm like, man, I'm a badass. I'm chaos, and I'm going to do everything I can to. And as I look back, I was doing everything I could to create chaos.
To hold that name.
Yeah, to hold that name and take people's eyes off of my heart.
Yeah.
And this broken guy that really was inside this person named Chaos, okay? So I was living with that label. And it wasn't getting me anywhere. In 2008, I walk into a courtroom. All of my choices eventually led to me losing my family and divorce in 2008. And in 2008, right after the second day of divorce court, I thought I had freedom of speech with the judge. And I found out very quickly that you don't. And I was given 30 days for contempt in jail. And that was kind of one of my pivotal moments. Uh-huh. Yours was, you get knocked in the shower.
Yeah.
Mine was, God said, hey, you're going in timeout for 30 days. Pay attention this time, okay? And in there, I thought, how am I going to rise above this? I went from a senior vice president of a major Wall Street firm to inmate number 06549. Holy cow, how did I get myself into this jungle,
Yeah.
And so I took, and I thought, all right, I got to make choices now, get back in alignment. So I redefined my why. It wasn't money. It wasn't the material possessions. And those things are good. It's just who you become if you attach yourself to that false happiness, okay? Mm-hmm. Which was in my case. People used to say, man, you've got everything. What is it that you're so unhappy about? I said, I'll tell you what, when I get home, because I used to travel 4 or 5 days a week, when I get home, we're going to come over to my house, and we're going to go into my garage. I had a big Harley-Davidson safe there, and it had a lot of my titles to my possessions. Mm-hmm. What I thought was taking people's eyes and putting it on that and not on me and my broken spirit. And I'm going to give you the title to whatever it is that you choose. And they're like, huh? What do you need for it? I said, just come over Saturday, and we'll go through this experience together. So I would have guys come over, and I said, what do you want? And they would look around, and I bought things because it kind of became part of my, again, I don't want you to look at me. I want you to look at my stuff. Because if you see me, you're going to see this real
the sleight of hands, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they'd come over. I'll take the white Hummer. Okay, go over to the safe, and we go through this process. And I open the safe. I take the title out to the Hummer, and I go to give it to that person, and I pull it back, and I said, "No, I just want one thing." And I told you it wasn't money. And they kind of look at me like, "What? You're not doing drugs again, are you?" No. I want one thing. Inner peace.
Wow.
And they would look at me and say, I can't give you inner peace. I said, absolutely. You can't. There's only one author of inner peace. And that's that higher power.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly
that
right.
Connection to that higher power.
Yeah.
So I took chaos, and I thought chaos got me into all this mess. Chaos is going to get me out of it. And so I used the acronym CHAOS. And the C stands for, it's actually three things, okay? So when you find yourself in chaos, if you apply this, I guarantee I've pressure tested life, and these things are true. And they'll be true for you. They'll be true for everybody because they're eternal truths. So chaos, I took the C, and that stands for choice, change, commitment. That commitment to make new choices to help you rise above, to make those choices, to make that commitment to create that change. Your alignment story was awesome. You slowly got to do that. So rise above, like 1% better each day, not 100% the next day, because it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're not going to go from in that ditch, as you talked about, to perfection, because perfection doesn't exist. That isn't a space.
Mm-hmm. It's not our place to be there anyway.
Yeah, so progress.
Yeah.
Mel's talking about how long she's been sober without anything, and that's progress. Mm-hmm. That's huge, So it's those little teeny, so that's what the C is for. The H is for higher power. And you have to have something bigger than you, because addiction is huge. Chaos is huge. Although it's not designed to crush you, it leads to that addiction. It leads to all those other choices that misalign your life. And, you're either going to rise above it or you're going to die. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
So H is higher power. Whatever you choose. Mine happens to be God and Jesus Christ. It can be different for each person, but just have a higher power that you associate with, because it's like a magnet to your why. It'll pull and draw you, and your choices and decisions and reaction to choices and chaos will come in alignment. The A is for accountability. Taking personal accountability for those rocks you've got in your backpack. You didn't put them there. You didn't put them there. I put those in there. Yeah. Okay?
But we're really quick to blame other people for putting them there, though.
Yeah, are we though? Yeah. Especially as an addict, we're
sure the hell
pointing
wasn't
fingers.
Me.
Yeah. So I talk about accountability, and I used to draw this line on a blank piece of paper for my daughters. I say, I want to tell you where to live. Below this line lies blame, shame, and entitlement. Those three things, nothing grows in that space. If you choose to live in the blame, shame, and entitlement world, nothing grows there. Nothing happens but negative stuff. Above the line, what do you think it is? Well, it starts with A, personal accountability. Accountability, ownership for your choices and where you are today. And the minute you stop living in that blame, shame, and entitlement space, you go into the personal responsibility, personal accountability for getting yourself back in alignment. Okay? The O in chaos. Again, I took chaos. I thought I'm going to use chaos to get me out. And these are the positives now that I've associated with it. This is the new beginnings that I associated with that word. From chaos comes new beginnings. The O is open and vulnerable. And each of us have had that experience where we just say, hey, I became open with what I was doing, with my choices, with the pain and everything that was causing everybody else. I became open. That leads to being vulnerable. That leads to kicking ego to the curb.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you have ego, again, it's a force field for anything good to penetrate into your heart and soul for you to make progress and get back in alignment.
Yeah.
And then the S, we've all said it, and you guys will probably guess what it is.
Surrender.
Surrender, baby. Surrender sounds so weak, I'm not going to surrender. I'm going to kick this. This is all about me. I got myself into it. I'm going to get myself out of it.
Yeah.
No, surrender is the greatest strength in the world. The greatest gift and the greatest strength that you can give yourself is to fully surrender, to say, hey, I'm accountable. I own this. I own my own shit. This is mine. And you surrender to that. And then that higher power will say, you're now ready. I'm going to pull you back in alignment. So that's I use the acronym, and I pressure tested every single one of those steps. And I will throw in there that the S is also stands for service. Service to others. Yeah. You guys have mentioned it here, and I've learned from you that the opposite of addiction is connection and serving. When you're giving of yourself to someone else, you lose yourself in that blessing, and that's surrender and that's service. So that's the antidote to rise above the chaos. And I've pressure tested it. I guarantee it. It works. And if you apply those steps, you're just taking chaos and not letting it crush you, but now you're letting it create you. And from chaos comes new beginnings. And those rocks,
Yeah.
they just turned into gold.
Yes, they did. Yeah. And again, it goes back to where the chaos that creates all the bullshit in your life, you can turn around that, have that chaos be one of the greatest gifts that's ever happened in
Yeah.
your life. You know,
Oh, exactly.
And I know our audience has heard this so many freaking times, but I say it all the time because I found it out to be so true. And it's like an AA meeting I went to with Janan, and this guy got up and got his 10 or 15 year chip, and he gets up and he goes, he's looking at his chip, and he goes, you know, every day I wake up and thank God for making me an addict. And I remember leaning over Janan and I'm going, that guy is effing nuts. I don't understand why.
Why would he want
When
that?
he finished his whole story, I got goosebumps now. I'm like, I get it. Because he would not be the person who he is today, where he's at today. He had to experience all the chaos he caused for himself and everyone around him to feel the love and the appreciation that he feels now and how he looks at life.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I've shared this a lot on the show, and I believe Clay's show that came out today is talking about basically being Jesus's disciples. You're the angels.
Yeah.
You know, the people who have risen above the chaos, who have taken the pain and the nastiness that's happened in their life, and they've rised above it. They are now out there, the service, giving that service
Yeah.
and giving their teachings to other people to help them take that first step, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, guys, I want you to know this rise above the chaos, it's just not for people in recovery.
No.
Mel, you
absolutely
touched on earlier, I can't remember if it was during the show or during our break, but it is for everyone. Every
It is.
single one of us need to rise above it. Because again, you know,
Well,
it's-
because we all have
life's-
chaos in our life.
Life's going to give
And-
it to us, you know.
And you know, it's just, you know, can walk through that door of life anytime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to say, okay, what are you here to teach me?
Yeah.
And yeah, you did, and that was a great point. Is that
Yeah.
it's not just, you know, people say, well, I don't need to apply those steps. They're eternal truths. That if you do these things, you will receive this.
Yeah.
And it's not like multiple choice. You will receive great
Yeah.
things by doing the steps that I just, because I've pressure tested it. And you're right. It's not just for people in recovery or addicts. It's for people who want to stay in alignment with their why. And again, define that why. And mine is, as you'll see in my TED Talk, it's my daughters. A focus on them, my new granddaughter, my relationships, my family,
Yeah.
those associations. If you've ever talked to anybody who's died and come back, they're like, there's no ATMs up there. And it's all about love. And
Yeah.
it's all about relationships. And that's truly what it is. So rise from where you are. And people say, well, I'm too far gone. No, you're not.
Oh, hell no.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
The only too far gone is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And
Yeah.
some people allow chaos to crush them in that way. And you know, my goal is to save one, not save. That's probably not the right. My goal is to help inspire and lift and be a light and a strength to at least one person a month, because of the chaos that has been multiplied because of COVID and what's going on in our world today. There's a lot of it. I think I've heard that word chaos more in the last 2 years than I've heard in my whole life.
Because
And
it's
I'm
true,
paying attention.
really. Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it's not there to crush us.
Yeah.
It's there to create us, to be the best version of ourselves, and to, you know, so rise from where you are. Love, honor, respect yourself. Get in alignment with your why, and allow that chaos to give birth to a brilliant new star and a brilliant new dream.
Yeah. Yeah, because it doesn't happen overnight to get you to where life is just a total waste. You know, and in all honesty, I'll open up and be vulnerable. I mean, that's how I looked at life a lot. You know, I was always struggling. I've struggled pretty much all my life. You know, been through quite a few marriages and things like that. And You know, it was always because of this or it was always because of that. And that's another blessing that has come out of my wife's addiction. It's really, really opened my eyes in my life, you know, going, holy crap, you know. And I remember after I did my fasting and because I felt like I wasn't getting the answers, and and I've shared this in a couple of my talks that not too long after I did my fasting and finished it, you know, the word forgiveness kept popping up in my head. I remember quite a few times hitting my knees asking, God, you want me to forgive her for all this crap she's put me through? It ain't going to happen. No way. I've gone through way too much crap, you know. And
you like carrying those hot rocks,
and I
don't you?
kept telling myself that. And that word kept pounding me in the head, you know. It's like what my dad used to do sometimes, you know, just thump me on the head with his finger, like, get your shit together. And I finally realized the forgiveness wasn't for her. The forgiveness was for me.
Exactly.
And see, now I get emotional. And once I started forgiving myself for all the stuff that we had went through, that's when I was able to forgive her, because I had to help myself first. Yeah. Can I repeat it again?
When you said something very, very key, and I just want your listeners and everybody to know.
I had to forgive myself. And the only way that I could help my wife,
because then you get rid of that shame and that
exactly
guilt
right,
and that spate.
Yeah.
I just wrote that down.
And you have to open it up. You know, you have to drop those rocks or rock. And my wife went through a program once when her addiction was really starting to take off, which is kind of sad to say, but I mean, it was really starting to escalate. And this gal that was working with her came in one day in the office, and we sit down and we go over this stuff, and she goes, "Oh, before you leave, I got this rock for you." And it was literally a rock. It was a rock about this big. She's like, "Okay, what do you want me to do with this?" And she goes, "Carry it."
Yeah.
With what? Your hands. Everywhere you go, I want you to take that rock with you. And she's like, everywhere? Everywhere. We went to frickin' grocery stores with her holding this frickin' rock. People were looking at her like, the F is wrong with you, girl? You know, and it was embarrassing for her as well because she's packing this rock.
Yeah.
You know, I kept telling myself, if someone asked what they're doing, I'm like, that's her pet rock. She's really fond of it or something. It goes everywhere with us, you know.
I had a lot of those. I had to get a backpack for mine.
Yeah. And then we ended up going to an event at their house, and I remember her asking my wife, she's like, "Are you tired of carrying that rock around?" She goes, "Oh, yes, please, can I sign?" And she'd been carrying it around for a week.
Wow.
She goes, "Okay, you can release it." And then after she released, she goes, "How does it feel?" She goes, "Oh my gosh, I feel so good that I'm not attached to that damn thing anymore." She goes, "Then why the hell are you holding on to all the other bullshit that's in your life?"
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and she still didn't get it at the time because she wasn't ready. You know, not saying she didn't get it.
Yeah.
She just wasn't ready.
If you're not ready to get back in alignment or to rise above the chaos, it's not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, you have to be 100%, and you also have to forgive. You can't forgive 99%. You have to forgive 100.
Yeah.
So, great point.
Yeah. Yeah, and we all have to forgive ourselves, you know. I even said that at the talk during that little spit there with the what word am I looking for? Where the subdivision, they came out and protesting. They didn't want sober living. And I got up and very forcefully, in a loud voice, not yelling or screaming, but very aggressive, said, "There ain't a one of you that's standing on this lawn right now that doesn't have a frickin' skeleton or more in their closet. These people have skeletons just like we do. They just made a different choice than the choices that you guys made. Now they're doing everything they can to get that damn closet cleaned out. Yeah. Give them that opportunity.
Be the light and strength to them.
Exactly.
Instead of shunning and blaming and shaming.
And give yourself the opportunity to get rid of those schedule or that skeleton, even if it's one frickin' bone at a time, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't matter as long as a guest that we had on our show, he battled a porn addiction for 2 decades. And he was out of town on a business trip. And he pulled up on a bridge, and he was going to jump off the bridge. He was going to commit suicide. And he said he remember asking God, why? Why has it gotten this far? Why can I not do this? And all of a sudden that little voice got in his head going, what are you beating yourself up for? You've gone 2 days before. You've gone a week before.
Yeah.
And he realized at that moment he wasn't celebrating the days that he was not using. Basically, they used the same type of terms.
Right.
He wasn't celebrating. He was beating himself up for the time every time he slipped back. Another good friend of mine who showed me his 5-year chip once at a networking group, and he goes, man, I thought I'd show you this because I know you'd appreciate it. And I told him when Janan went 13 months sober once, I says, yeah, as soon as she started drinking, I took that son of a bitch away from him. And I literally thought he was going to frickin' pop me. I watched his fist double. I thought he was going to pop me right between the eyes. He was pissed. And he goes, don't you ever take away what we have worked our ass off to get to, whether it's 1 day, 2 days, 30 days, a year, it doesn't matter. And he opened my eyes. I learned a big lesson that day. And
he was actually the first podcast that I sat down with.
Yeah,
with
Jim?
He was number one of that day. Yep.
Yeah, with
Carroll.
Jim.
Yep.
Yep.
Jim Carroll?
Jim Carroll.
Yeah.
You know Jim Carroll?
I grew up with Jim. Jim and I grew up in the same neighborhood. We recently reconnected through Facebook.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And he works a lot with Red Barn.
Oh, does he? I didn't know that. I knew he was in the tech industry.
Yeah, he goes out there and he's been doing some stuff with Red Barn. As a matter of fact, I think he's working the program again. Yeah, out there.
Yeah, see, Jim and I, if you would have looked at our neighborhood, we had a great neighborhood. And to look at us, when we caught up with each other, I was like, wow, you went through all that too, huh? So,
yeah
he
you never
did.
know.
He sure did.
Full-blown alcoholic by junior high.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he was the youngest we've ever had on the show. That was,
I noticed that trend in him. It started to happen about, that time. So, he just 10 houses from me.
Wow. That's a small world, huh?
Yes.
Holy cow.
One of the things that I've actually realized over this past weekend, so I finally found somebody in my life that I can be 100% myself with. I don't
real.
have to hide.
Yeah.
Because, my family, they're definitely not on the same page I am. When it comes to spirituality and pretty much anything, they will literally call me crazy. I'm the crazy one in the family, but I'm just more natural. I'm more drawn towards energy and things like that.
Yeah.
So I have a new connection in my life, and she's amazing. But she's really the only person that I could freely talk about everything with. And over the weekend, we're sitting at my table, and I'm just crying over certain things, not over certain things, just not emotional crying, just that forceful release, what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that crying, I actually realized that I no longer cry over certain things because I've forgiven myself for it.
Good.
So it's definitely that forgiveness in yourself for sure.
Yeah. No, that's powerful, Mel. That's
very powerful.
Once that happens, and I had to say, hey, I used to look at that backpack of rocks and I'd go, man, now I look at that backpack and go, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, right?
Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For those blessings.
Exactly right.
I have a coach and good friend, Gary Mailer, and he said to me one time, he says, your shit becomes your gold if you allow it to, So that backpack I have has a lot of gold in it. So.
Well, and he's right. Really, it is. It is gold.
And now we distribute it.
I never thought of it like that.
It is gold. It's not the type that you can.
And now you distribute it.
Yeah,
You
distribute
don't hold
it out.
on to it. You give it back. You give it to others. You serve with that gold.
Yeah.
So, you guys are awesome. Thanks for having
absolutely.
me. I've loved every minute. I've felt such a peace and a spirit here. I'm grateful for both of you. I love you both. And
same here.
Yes,
keep
definitely.
rising above. Keep love, honor, and respecting yourself. And if I can serve you in any way or be of any help, please, reach out to me. And
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
same with you, Brad.
And again, we meet people in our lives for a reason. for a
No
reason.
coincidence, huh?
No coincidences. Yeah, I don't think there really is such thing. It happens for a reason. And some people are meant to come in your life for a short period of time. Others are there for a long period of time. Others could be there just for a frickin' day or an hour.
I call it a reason,
You
a season, or a lifetime.
There you go. That's a good
I
way
like
of looking
that.
at
That's
it.
one thing I've always said to myself ever since I was a teenager. There's someone for everyone, if only for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a quote. I
Yeah.
don't know who ever said it, but it's one that has definitely
Yeah.
stuck with me.
What was that? What was that about? Why did I meet this person?
Mm-hmm.
As you look back and connect the dots, you know, that judge who threw me into jail for those 30 days for contempt. It was better him than picking me up on the side of the road.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Right?
or so he was a blessing. And if I want to try to control things or blame and shame and entitlement, I could keep going after him. But I actually wrote him a letter and said, thank you for calling me out. Thank you for being the guy who put me in timeout. It gave me 30 days to really, because you have a lot of time to think,
Wow.
and you better have a connection to a higher power. You're not going to make it in there
Yep.
mentally.
Yeah, I don't know how you could. I mean, it's hard enough to make it out here in the real world mentally and without having somebody to back you that's greater than you. We definitely all need that. And my life has changed quite a bit, even just up until about the last, I've said this, gosh, I asked God, I don't know how long ago, that it's Carrie Underwood, I think, sings the song, Jesus, Take the Wheel.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
take it, just frickin' take it, because every time I try to do what I want to do, it just ends up terrible, or another way. And it's amazing how the more I give up the ego and the more faith and the trust that I have that he's there, instead of trying to take things in my own hands.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the blessings just keep lining up, and have they been really huge blessings? Yeah, I don't think there's such thing as a small blessing.
No,
I
you
think
got to
they're
stop.
all
You got to stop
huge.
to count them.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like those chips, those little small moments.
Yep.
The simple things, and
Yeah,
so it's like the tricky bars in school. Remember those? You would.
yeah.
Do you remember these, Mel? You probably don't. But tricky bars, you'd grab one, and how did you get across and grab the other bar? What did you have to do?
It's that momentum.
You had
Yeah, you
momentum
let go
and
let go of the other bar.
You have to let go with that one hand, because
Yeah.
if not, if you're still trying to, so you got to get that momentum going towards your why, and then you let go, and let God, and grab into
Grab
that
the
next
other
one,
one.
and just keep making that daily progress. And
And as the faith grows, what happens is we get really good at just grabbing. Remember how we start, I'm going to skip a bar. I'm going to see if I can go 3 bars ahead of time, even though your arms are
And
not
you're-
long enough,
and
but
you-
you're going to,
then you're laying on your back on
You're
the
laying
sand.
on your
going,
back,
what
yeah.
was that all about? So,
yeah.
And don't get to the other end and grab your ego.
Yeah, exactly
I just
right.
made it through that. Look up.
Yeah, exactly
Give
right.
thanks.
So Curtis, to wrap this thing up, do you have something you'd like to share with the audience? Something that something inspirational. I mean, this whole show's been inspirational. Do you have anything tucked away that you'd like to throw out there?
I think just, realize how strong you really are and how much power you actually truly have in connection with your higher power. Because if you just believe it's you, that's ego.
Yeah.
If you believe it's you coupled with a higher power, that's what's going to get you through. There was a book I read, and it wasn't a real famous book, but I'll share this with you, because you talk about no coincidences, and we'll tie all this in. But there was a book that I was given by the author. He actually signed it, and it said, "To Him That Believeth," by Frederick Babel. And I read that book, and I had never seen that book anywhere else other than the copy that I had, But when I went to jail for 30 days for contempt, there is a lot of books you can read. Not a lot of great ones, but the Bible's there and different things like that, which is obviously great. But there sat on the shelf, To Him That Believeth.
Wow.
I had never seen it. It wasn't a real popular book. It was just, so there it is, To Him That Believeth, Frederick Babylon. I'm going, geez. I grabbed that book, and I could not believe it because it had been years. I was given this book probably back in 1982, and then 2008 I find it again, and I'm reading in it, and in it said, and I'll leave you and your audience and myself with this reminder. It said, if you have faith in yourself to move a mountain, and that can be the chaos, that can be your addiction, that can be your negative toxic relationship. If you have faith in yourself to move a mountain, grab a shovel. If you have faith in God to move your mountain, get out of the way. And that
is
I could not believe I found that book where I found it.
Yeah.
But it's a constant reminder to me to just keep in alignment and keep connection and make those small, simple steps. And life will go in the direction that it needs to go.
Yeah. I love it. That is great advice. Mel, you want to
No, that
you
was
want to do your
great.
best to top that one?
No,
No, I would sit down
I just
too.
threw it down, get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
I threw in the white flag also.
Surrender is so powerful.
I
isn't it?
surrender, right? Awesome. Curtis, again, oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Oh, thank
I'm
you guys.
so glad we were
I've
able to
been
connect
blessed.
again because, again,
Yeah.
this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Elena's birthday party in the
Yeah.
Spaghetti Factory. Because, we hadn't seen each other since that last men's group. And
Right,
so this
right.
has been really cool.
No, thank you both.
Absolutely.
What a peace and blessing this has been. So I just put another beautiful rock in my collection.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
Yeah, and we just did the same thing. Yeah, we definitely did the same thing, and we gave out a ton of gold today. I mean,
Definitely.
really, we did. There was a ton of gold that was distributed out today.
And this
in
is
the
why we
show.
call it Therapy Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great.
This was great. Yeah.
It's great.
And then in
Shake those
November,
chills
it's
again.
Thankful Thursday because it's Thanksgiving time. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Hey guys, again, thank you for all your support. We want to say thank you to Resilience Talk Network and Brad. Thank you for allowing us to be here in the studio and do this show. Thank you to all our listeners for all your support. I want to share something before we sign off. I got a text Tuesday night about 9:30. Getting emotional thinking about it. It was a gentleman that we had on our show, and his name was Jeffrey Washington, and he works for Corner Canyon Health. And he came on the show and shared his story, and he just happened to be watching one of our podcasts. And we had a gentleman on our podcast by the name of Ryan, and he calls me and he goes, Al, I apologize for calling you so late at night. And he goes, I was just watching this podcast with Ryan. And he goes, I know Ryan. And he goes, we haven't seen one another for a long, long time. Both of us was in the depths of our addiction when we met. And he goes, to see where his life is at now and where mine's at, they are both doing the service, which we talked about.
Yeah,
They're
that's
helping others. He goes, Al, this show is such a blessing. And he said, would you do me a favor and get me in contact with Ryan? Because I really thought he was dead. That's what he said.
Oh, very
I
cool.
thought that he didn't beat his addiction. But he says, I really want to talk to this guy. And so I said, hey, I'll tell you what, I'll do a group text. So I did this group text, and they were able to connect yesterday.
No kidding.
And
That's powerful stuff, bro.
it is, it is really cool. So
So you're making it happen.
that's
You're-
why
you're
we're
that
doing
light
what
and
we're
strength.
doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to apologize for getting emotional because that's what this is about. Two guys that was knee deep in bullshit in their life with addiction and everything, and to see them get back and reconnect.
That's cool.
It's really, really cool. So, again, thank you, listeners. Thank you to all our sponsors. None of this, again, would be possible if it wasn't for all you guys. And we'll leave you with this as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.